So we've arrived here at the Menorat הכנסת, the menorah which stands right outside the Knesset. This menorah itself is an interesting idea. Number one, it's built by a man called Benno Elkin, who comes from England, who is a man who will actually build two big chandeliers in Westminster Abbey. They saw that the government of England, Herbert Samuel's son, then decided that what he wanted to do was to be able to give a gift to the country that had just become a country in 1948. 8 years later, that gift will arrive here. Now, the symbol of the Jewish people, of course, is the Magen David. But that's not the true symbol of the Jewish people. And you'll see time and again in various different monuments, wherever it may be, the menorah is prominent. The menorah goes all the way back, as we know, to that concept from the temple. But if you look at monuments, it will go back to Titus's Arch, which is the most prominent idea on Titus's Arch, than bringing the menorah out of Jerusalem into Rome. And that's the reason why the menorah is going to be picked, coming back to Jerusalem, if you want, from Galut, from exile. The menorah itself, with its 7 branches, different to the Chanukiah, of course, which is we light on Chanukah, but with its 7 branches exactly like the temple describes. And this menorah is very special, because this menorah also describes the history, as Benno Elkin wanted us to understand, of the Jewish people. And there are various different places on this menorah that we can pick out to describe what takes place here. If we look on the right-hand side of the menorah, right at the very top there, we're looking at Yirmiyahu, who is describing the destruction of Jerusalem in the first temple period. But on the other side, if you want, Yirmiyahu of Eicha as well, on 9th of Av. But if we look to the left-hand side, we're describing Isaiah, who describes the concept of Nachamu, Nachamu Ami. Comfort thee, our people. My people will be comforted. We will come back from the Churban, from the destruction of the temple. We have various different depictions throughout here, which are talking about, if you want, major times in our Jewish history, whether it be how we developed ourselves, from the idea of the golden age of Spain, to the development of Kabbalah, to the development of Chassidut, and Halakha, how it evolved throughout the ages, to allow us to be a people that can be self-sufficient, both through how we keep the laws and how we develop the ideas, the philosophical ideas behind what Judaism stands for. We have all the periods of Jewish history up here as well, whether it be Bar Kokhba rebellion that ended in 135 CE, not far from where we are. We have bang in the middle Moshe with Amalek, fighting the story of Amalek, and Amalek will continue, if you want, to be on our tails the whole time throughout our history. We also have down on the second kaner, down on the second line of the menorah to the right-hand side, the second one down, you see a man wrapped up in a Sefer Torah. So Hananiah ben Tradion, who of course is wrapped up by the Romans in a Sefer Torah, and it says, Otiot, Pochot Ba'avir, the letters went up to heaven. All of these things over here are trying to symbolize for us a very important point in how we build our people. On what do we rest? On the Mesirut Nefesh, on the dedication that people made in order that we would be allowed a Jewish history that is the span of what Jewish history stands for today, and that we're all part of. We can all take something from every single thing here and understand what it means. When Benno Elkin came here, he knew there were certain things that there must be on the menorah. Number one, bang in the middle, the second one down, is the Luchot HaBrit, the 10 Commandments, which stand above so many of the arcs we have in any synagogue today. Those 10 sayings, the ethos and the ethics of every society. Below there, we have Ruth, who comes back from Moav, and that idea of Ki gerim hayitem be'eretz Mitzrayim, because you were strangers in a foreign land. You need to know how to look after the strangers. But at the same time, next to her is Rachel, who is talking about the idea that she watched her people going out to Galut, as it says in the prophecy. Kra'ama Hashem, thus says God, Mini kolech mi bechi, stop crying. Hold your tears back. Ki yesh schar lepulatech num Hashem, because there is going to be a reward for all of your hard work. V'shavu vanim legvulam, the Jewish people will return to their borders. But they won't come straight away. They'll have to go through the exile before they start to return here. And when you look below there, you can see the big tablet right at the bottom where everything meets. We have there the ghetto of Warsaw and the Meret, the rebellion. In the middle there is a man who is wearing a Magen David, that other symbol of the Jewish people. And that is Beno Elkin, not who you would expect, which is Mordechai and Levitz, which appears on so many other types of monuments, which is connected, of course, to the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, the man who was in charge of one of the groups who fought in the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, but he puts himself in there as well. A man who fled from Germany to England and was able to make it safely there. And after that, you hear the cries of the people that went out from the Warsaw Ghetto and the people who still to this day, the Jewish national anthem of Shema Yisrael that you see over here. Shema Yisrael. Right at the very bottom of this menorah is the rebuilding of the Jewish people, the prophecy of Rachel that is going through the Shema, through what we fought for, all the way up to making sure that our ethics are exactly the same with the 10 sayings, to where Moshe Rabbeinu brought down those Luchot HaBrit, those 10 commandments down from heaven for us, being able to build a new society here in Israel. When they wanted to be able to put this menorah here, one of the things that Beno Elkin said was it needs to go into the Knesset. At the time when it came to Israel, the Knesset wasn't standing where it is today, the Israeli parliament. It was standing in the center of town. And there was a whole back and forth, can we have such a thing in the Knesset? Because of one of the commandments that would have been on the 10 commandments over here. Lo taseh lecha pesel. You can't make for yourself a graven image. So there were people back and forward, and Rabbi Herzog, who was the chief rabbi at the time, said it's okay, we can do it. He made some changes to make sure that it was hollow, etc., that it wasn't a complete statue. But they didn't put it in the Knesset for lack of room. It never went into this Knesset either. And I think the reason is perfect. One of the reasons they didn't want to put it into the Knesset was because if they knew that it was in the Knesset, you'd have to go through security, and then only a certain amount of people would be able to see it. But today, this is a living memory for all people of Israel to come to, and anyone that comes to Israel, to be able to come here and understand our history and what we rest on to be able to have what we have at the bottom. What are the ways that we have to go through, the journeys that we have to make in order to be able to get to the bottom of this menorah? And it's now the upside down idea. Because usually you have your history as your foundation for everything to rest on. And then you would have at the top, if you want, the rebirth of the Jewish people. Look how the menorah is different. This way, the menorah has the history of the Jewish people, with at the bottom, the rebirth of the Jewish people. We are rebuilding our history, but taking with us throughout all of our lives, all of these elements that we have on the menorah itself today. Carrying each and everything with us. Knowing that within each part of what all these different depictions that you can see here, close to 30 of them on the menorah, they make up today what the Jewish people are. They make up the people that won't forget who they were, but know how to take what it means to be a Jew from all these ways and build the society that we have today.